Hello everyone, back tuning into the 11th Christmas update. So we started Christmas updates at Gasworthy's on the first day of November. We're up to update 11 now. We're nearly halfway through. When we get to 13, we're going to be halfway there with the Christmas update. So been a interesting season of updates because the CFS has been unusually consistent this year so far. We have one cold, wintry Christmas update, which was update 5. But other than that, generally, it's been mild, westerly, zonal, all the way around the time of year that we are looking for. Of course, we can't pin this down to the exact weather on Christmas Day because it's too far away. So what we're looking for is the overall trend of the model for sort of the middle part of December to the end of December through to the early part of January. So it's that sort of time of year. And if we get many runs showing the same thing, we can say that the model is trending to that kind of scenario through that particular time of year. But of course, you might get something like a very westerly, zonal, and wet and windy late December, but you might get lucky and just have a little cold snap on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or Boxing Day. You can't really judge that at this stage because it's far too far away. So the trend has definitely been mild and westerly around late December and early January for the Christmas update so far this year. But just because we've had a trend, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right trend. Of course, it could be that Molly's getting the wrong trend. So we're going to see what the 11th update has to say in a second. You watch this a little bit earlier than normal. It's 5 o'clock. Normally, we would issue this at 7 o'clock in the evening, but I've issued it a little bit earlier just today because at 7 o'clock this evening, actually, there's going to be a live event on the homepage. So you'll be able to have a listen to myself and Quantum talking about the weather. We'll be analysing the midday runs of the computer model GFS, ECWF, and that kind of thing. There's cold weather coming up, so we'll be analysing whether there's any chance of snow, and if there is, where that snow might be in the next week or so. I'm sure we'll have a bit of a discussion about winter as well, that's looming very, very closely now, and we'll be taking your questions through Gasweather vids and on Twitter and that kind of thing, Facebook. So going to be fully interactive, run for about a couple of hours, probably from 7 to 9, something like that. So hope you're tuning later on, have a listen to that. But now let's get on with the 11th Christmas update. Just say that Chris Shop is open, so if you've got an Chris Shop to do at Amazon, click green button that says Gaz Chris Shop. I mean, you know what to do for me. Go through the Amazon banners, do Chris shopping, and we get revenue fee on things that you buy. Right, let's get on with the 11th Christmas update. We're starting on the 8th of December, so not that far away now, just a couple of weeks away. Getting ever closer, of course, Christmas, and 1 month today it is going to be Christmas Eve, can you believe? So, we find that on the 8th of December, we've got a ridge of high pressure, an area of high pressure, sitting over top of the country within quite cold air. This all connects back to, I won't show you the chart, but it all connects back to the cold weather that's starting right now. Nothing has particularly happened to shake up the atmosphere. So at this point, we find that we are within quite cold air on the 8th of December. Going to carry on running through, and what we find happening on this run of the CFS. By the way, I should tell you a little bit about the model, of course. So it's the CFS 9-monthly forecast from metroseal.fi. You can find it to Metroseal on the links page. Generated midday yesterday. We always use the same run where we can. The one we choose for no particular reason is the midday run, so generated midday yesterday. So this latest update of the midday run of the long-range CFS V2 9-month forecast shows that by the 11th of December, we are still under an area of high pressure, that high pressure is beginning to push up towards Scandinavia, it's beginning to move out towards the east. Milder winds trying to move in from the Atlantic. In fact, it probably is turning milder for Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, but much of England and Wales will still be quite cold, dry and frosty. You see quite an extensive cold pool across the eastern part of Europe on the eastern side of this area of high pressure. That's looking quite interesting there. Let's carry on running through and see what becomes of that Scandinavian high. So we're heading up towards the middle part of December, and we're going to the 14th. What we find happening is that by the 14th of December, the high pressure over Scandinavia is probably starting to take over the pattern. Low pressure is being blocked from the Atlantic with pulling in cold southeasterly winds. They actually look southerly, these winds, but they would be cold. They're dragging the air in from off the continent, and the air is originating from Central Europe here with this. So despite the fact there's a southerly tilt to the isobars, actually that would be quite a bitterly cold southeasterly wind that we would be starting to push in there. Mainly dry, but cold with an icy wind up to the 14th of December. Getting very interesting by the 15th. Look what's happening here. Low pressure is pushing down towards the Bay of Biscay, and now we're pulling in proper bitter cold southeasterly winds, and we are dragging in some of that very deep cold pool excuse me, type air that was sitting in the east of Europe. So I reckon there will probably be snow showers coming in with this as well as we head into the middle part of December. That looks quite icy and cold there from that Scandinavian high, 1040 millibar Scandinavian high, so it's a big one as well. Really icy east-southeast wind, bringing in the chance of snow showers. Let's carry on beyond the middle part of December, and what we find is that we maintain up to the 18th of December. We're maintaining this cold weather. The wind is still in from the east or the southeast. It's a bitterly cold feeder there that's coming in from the continent as well. Low pressure is out to the west, trying desperately to get in, but at this point it is still being blocked by that Scandinavian high and the block of cold air. We're going to try and run up towards Christmas then, and we're heading to the 20th of December, and now we are beginning to lose that cold weather. So the Scandinavian high is beginning to deflate and retreat into eastern parts of Europe. Low pressure in the Atlantic is starting to bring milder winds in from the west. There's probably some sort of snow event pushing across the country with that, but then eventually the wind is beginning to turn from the southeast, which is cold, more towards the southwest, which is starting to drag up milder air. So heading towards Christmas, and a bit of a thaw is starting to take place. Let's see if we can get to close to Christmas. So say it's the 23rd of December, where the Atlantic has broken through away from northern Scotland, which is still hanging on to cold air. It is turning milder now, with some bouts of rain starting to push in across the country. We're going to get to Christmas. So this is Christmas Eve. How to see this looking on tonight's or this afternoon's 11th Christmas update, and it looks fairly mild actually after all that cold weather running up towards Christmas. Actually, we've got to Christmas, it looks fairly mild. Again, Northern Scotland is still just about in that cold weather, but elsewhere we've got a flow of air coming in from off the Atlantic, mainly dry. I would have thought possibly some showery rain up in the north. Temperatures could be up to around double figures down across southwestern parts of the country. This is Christmas Day on the 11th update, and what we find happening for this one on Christmas Day is, again, we're bringing the air up from the south. It's rather complicated because we are very close to cold air still. So, I mean, we've got a 1055 millibar ridge over Greenland. There's an extensive cold pool over Scandinavia. This is reasonably close to bringing in cold weather, but it's just retreated away to the northeast. So actually Christmas Day here is looking mostly dry again. Possibly some sort of weather front in the west. I would have thought fairly mild, although winds are slack, so there might be fog and sort of damp, dreary conditions. Temperatures in any sunshine could get up to towards double figures. That's Boxing Day. We go from Christmas Day to Boxing Day, and we find that, again, milder winds are pushing up from the southwest. This time the weather front's moving across the country as well. That's probably taking outbreaks of rain with it. And then we are introducing a proper mild feeder there then, coming up from central part of the Atlantic Ocean. So generally it's getting milder, but it's a slow old process from the cold weather that we have to around the 20th of December. And cold weather has extended in this update, by the way. Yet on the last update, the 10th update, cold weather was generally ending around mid-month. Now it's extending out to the 20th on this update, so it is getting closer to Christmas. This Albert 27th of December is looking mild, wet and windy, and then we'll run on towards the end of the year, and it does turn properly mild then. So high pressures across much of Europe, low pressure in the Atlantic, and these southwesterly winds are bathing mild air across the country. Let's get to New Year, and this is how things are looking for the start of January. So this is the 1st of January 2018. Again, it's looking mild. It's wet out in the west, mainly dry in the east. The air's coming up from a southerly southwesterly direction, so that's a mild end to the year and start to 2018. And then I'll just run you through the first few days of January. So, well, a lot of dry weather down in the south and quite mild, turning more unsettled up in the north, and very gradually it does turn increasingly unsettled here through the first half of January. And actually by the middle of January I've run on to the 14th, which is as far as we'll go. The purple colours are turning up there in the Atlantic, indicating a bit of an Atlantic onslaught is threatening for the middle part of January. We won't go any further than that. So for tonight's 11th update, it's another one that's showing a mild Christmas, but the colder weather is getting closer. So on the last update we did a couple of nights ago, the 10th update, we did have cold weather in the first half of December, and we cut it off around the 15th. Turn things milder. Tonight we have cold weather in the first half of December, but we carry it on to the middle of the month, and we actually run it to the 20th of December, around the 20th of December, before it turns milder for Christmas. So very, very gradually we might be starting to extend this cold weather further and further out into December. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the way this is going. But as I said at the start, just because we've had a trend of mild Christmas weather through these Christmas updates so far does not mean that that's going to be the correct trend when we get to the time frame that we're interested in. So I'll keep checking back for more. We'll do more updates. The next one will be on Sunday. Do keep checking back, because things might be starting to get just a little bit more interesting for Christmas at the moment. Right, got the live event in a couple of hours, so come back for that at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow, weekend forecast will be issued earlier than normal, because later on tomorrow, we'll have the third and final seasonal model roundup for the winter of 2017-18, getting 14 long-range models together, see what we're all showing for the winter. Sunday, loads of updates coming up there as well. The 12th and final winter update on Sunday morning. Terry Scully's winter forecast will be issued on Sunday afternoon. So, going to be loads of updates, all starting, of course, with the live event at 7 o'clock this evening. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.